Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars shift from white to blue as the massive fleet dropped out of hyperspace. His scaled hands gripped the railing as he looked at the tactical display showing 50,000 ships spreading out in perfect formation. The Zephyrian hegemony had come to claim another star system. "Sol system ahead, Admiral," reported his navigation officer. "All fleet commanders are requesting orders." Kethavar's reptilian features twisted into what his species considered a smile. In the past 100 years, the hegemony had conquered 12 star systems. Each time, the local species had tried to resist. Each time, they had failed. The humans would be no different. General Vexthi clicked across the bridge on her 6 insect legs. Her compound eyes reflected the light from dozens of screens showing fleet positions. "The humans have only 3,000 ships," she said. "Our..." Scouts counted them twice to be sure. Commander Zolman's crystalline body chimed softly as he processed the data. His species communicated through musical tones, but he had learned to speak the common language for military operations. "Their technology is basic," he sang. "Chemical rockets, simple laser weapons. They are like children playing with sticks." Kethvar nodded. The hegemony represented 7 different alien species, each bringing their own strengths to the alliance. The Sorok provided leadership and strategy. The Chitani offered numbers and fierce fighting spirit. The Resonari contributed advanced technology and computing power. Together with 4 other species, they had built an unstoppable war machine. "Send the usual surrender demand," Kethvar ordered. "Give them 1 day to respond." The message was transmitted across space toward the blue world that the humans called home. It was the same message the hegemony had sent to every species they encountered. Surrender now and become part of the Empire, or face complete destruction. 24 hours later, the human response arrived. Instead of surrender or defiance, it was something completely unexpected. A human female appeared on the main screen. She wore a simple uniform with stars on her shoulders. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force," she said. "We have received your message. We choose to fight." Kethvar and his commanders looked at each other. This was normal so far. Every species chose to fight at first, but then Admiral Chen continued speaking. "As a gesture of respect between warriors, we are transmitting our complete battle plan to your fleet. We believe you should know how we intend to defend our home." The bridge fell silent. In all their years of conquest, no enemy had ever shared their battle plans. General Vexthi's antennae twitched nervously. "This could be a trick," she warned. "What kind of trick?" Commander Zolman chimed. "They are telling us exactly what they will do. No species is that foolish." The human data package arrived moments later. Kethvar opened it on the main tactical display. What he saw made him laugh so hard that his scales rattled against his armor. The human plan was completely insane. Instead of gathering their ships for a defensive battle near Earth, they were scattering their fleet across the entire solar system. Some ships were positioned near the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Others were stationed near the gas giants Saturn and Jupiter. The rest were spread out in loose groups that had no apparent tactical purpose. "Look at this," Kethvar said, pointing at the display. "They have mining ships working in the asteroid belt. Agricultural vessels are floating near Jupiter and Saturn, doing something with the atmosphere. Their military ships are spread so thin that we could destroy them one group at a time." General Vexthi studied the plan more carefully. "They are placing their ships along specific routes through the system, almost like they want us to follow certain paths." "Of course they do," Commander Zolman sang dismissively. "They are trying to delay us, make us waste time chasing scattered groups instead of attacking their homeworld directly." Kethvar zoomed in on different sections of the human plan. Agricultural ships were doing atmospheric processing near gas giants. Mining vessels were moving asteroids into strange patterns. Scout ships were positioned at seemingly random points throughout the outer solar system. "These mammals think they can defeat us with farmers and rock miners," Kethvar said. "They are either completely insane, or they know nothing about real warfare." The other commanders agreed. The human strategy looked like the desperate plan of a species that had never fought a real space battle. They were trying to use civilian ships and industrial equipment as military assets. It was almost sad. "Should we change our approach?" asked General Vexthy. "No," Keithvar decided. "We stick to standard conquest protocol. We advance through their system, destroy any ships that try to stop us, and capture their homeworld. Their strange plan will only make our victory easier." The Admiral opened a communication channel to all 50,000 ships in his fleet. "Commanders of the hegemony," he announced. "The humans have shared their battle plan with us. They intend to fight with mining ships and farm equipment. This will be our easiest conquest yet." Laughter echoed across the fleet communication channels. Veterans of dozens of battles found the human strategy hilarious. Some commanders joked that they should send their own civilian ships to fight just to make it fair. "Begin the advance," Kethvar ordered. "Standard formation. We will crush these humans just like we crushed the Meridians at their homeworld." The massive hegemony fleet began moving toward the inner solar system. 50,000 warships arranged in perfect battle formation, carrying weapons that could destroy entire cities. They had conquered 12 star systems with this same approach. The humans would be number 13. As the fleet moved deeper into the Sol system, Keithvar felt the familiar excitement of approaching victory. Soon, another species would kneel before the hegemony. Another world would join their empire. Another chapter would be added to their legend of conquest. The Admiral looked at his tactical display one more time, studying the human ship positions. The enemy plan still made no sense to him. Mining operations in the asteroid belt, agricultural work near gas giants, military vessels scattered like seeds in the wind. "Primitive thinking," he muttered to himself. "They fight like they are still bound to one planet." Behind him, General Vexthy watched the same display with growing unease. Something about the human positions bothered her, but she could not identify what it was. The pattern looked random, but her compound eyes were designed to spot hidden structures. She had the feeling that she was missing something important. "Admiral," she said carefully, "perhaps we should study their plan more closely before we advance." Kethvar waved a dismissive hand. "We have studied it. They have no plan. They are panicking." He pointed at the screen. "Look how they scatter their forces, no discipline, no strategy, no understanding of space warfare." The fleet continued its advance toward Earth. In a few days they would reach the outer edge of human space. Then they would begin the systematic destruction of every human ship they encountered. Admiral Kethvar was confident that this would be their fastest victory yet. The humans had practically defeated themselves by sharing their foolish strategy. He had no way of knowing that he had just walked into the most sophisticated trap in galactic history. 3 days into their advance through the Sol system, the hegemony fleet encountered their first human ships. Admiral Kethvar watched his tactical display as a group of human vessels appeared on the edge of his sensors, near Pluto's orbit. 12. "Human ships approaching," reported his tactical officer. "Mixed classes. Some appear to be converted cargo vessels." "Destroy them," Kethvar ordered, without hesitation. The lead ships of his fleet opened fire with plasma cannons and particle beams. The human ships immediately turned and fled deeper into the system, their engines glowing bright blue as they accelerated away from the hegemony forces. "Cowards," muttered Commander Zolman, his crystalline body ringing with satisfaction. "They run at the first sign of real combat." But General Vexthy noticed something odd. "They are not fleeing randomly," she observed. "Look at their escape vector. They are heading directly toward Neptune." Kethvar glanced at the pursuit course. "So, what? They are running toward the next planet. When we catch them there, we will destroy them along with any other ships waiting to ambush us." The chase continued for 6 hours. The human ships stayed just ahead of the hegemony's fastest vessels, leading them on a winding path through the outer solar system. Every time the aliens got close enough to fire effectively, the humans would change course slightly, using gravity assists from moons and asteroids to maintain their distance. "They are playing games with us," General Vexthy said. "This is not random flight. They are following a planned route." When the hegemony fleet reached Neptune, they found more human ships waiting. This group was larger, maybe 30 vessels, including several that looked like mining ships with weapon systems welded to their hulls. The battle was brief. The human ships fired a few shots at extreme range, then immediately retreated toward Uranus. Their weapons barely scratched the hegemony's shields. Pathetic, Kethvar laughed. They cannot even hurt our ships. But as the fleet continued its advance, strange things began happening. Hegemony scout ships reported unusual readings throughout the system. Near Jupiter, the gravitational sensors were detecting massive objects moving in patterns that made no sense. Around Saturn, there were electromagnetic disturbances that seemed to be growing stronger. The humans are doing something near the gas giants, reported the science officer. Our long-range sensors show their agricultural ships releasing some kind of material into Jupiter's upper atmosphere. Kethvar studied the data, probably trying to create a poison cloud. Primitive chemical warfare. It will not work in space. Near the asteroid belt, human mining ships were moving rocks around like they were building something. The rocks were being positioned in specific locations, forming patterns that stretched across millions of kilometers. They are building asteroid fortifications, suggested Commander Zolman, trying to create defensive positions using natural cover. General Vexthi was not convinced. Her compound eyes were designed to spot patterns, and she was seeing something that bothered her. The human ships kept retreating along very specific paths through the solar system. Not random flight, but precise navigation routes that seemed planned in advance. "Admiral," she said carefully, "I think the humans are hurting us." "Hurting us?" Kethvar's scales rippled with amusement. "We are not cattle, General. We are the most powerful military force in the galaxy." "Look at our course," Vexthi insisted. She brought up a three-dimensional map of their path through the Sol system. "Every time we chase their ships, they lead us along the same routes. We are not choosing our own path. They are showing us where to go." Kethvar examined the map. The hegemony fleet had indeed followed a winding path through the outer solar system, chasing human ships from planet to planet. But he saw nothing wrong with this. "They are running because they are afraid," he said. "We are following because we want to destroy them. This is normal military pursuit." The fleet continued deeper into the system. More human ships appeared and fled. Each encounter followed the same pattern. The humans would fire a few shots at long range, then retreat toward the next planet. The aliens would pursue, and the cycle would repeat. By the time they reached the asteroid belt, Kethvar was growing impatient. "How many more of these running battles must we fight?" he complained. "Why do they not stand and fight like warriors?" "Because they are weak," answered Commander Zolman. "They know they cannot win a direct battle, so they try to waste our time with these games." But General Vexthi was studying the tactical display more carefully. The human mining ships in the asteroid belt were not just moving rocks randomly. They were placing massive asteroids in very specific locations, connected by what looked like cables or energy beams. Those are not fortifications, she realized. They are building some kind of network. The human agricultural ships near Jupiter and Saturn were also working on something complex. They were releasing materials into the gas giants' atmospheres, in precise patterns, creating swirling clouds that glowed with strange colors. "Admiral," Vexthi said urgently, "I think we should stop and analyze what the humans are really doing. Their behavior suggests a coordinated plan that we do not understand." Kethvar was tired of his general's worries. "We understand perfectly," he said. "They are afraid. They are running. They are trying to delay the inevitable with meaningless, busy work." He opened a communication channel to the entire fleet. "All ships maintain pursuit speed, ignore the human industrial operations, focus on destroying any military vessels we encounter. We will be at Earth in 2 days." The hegemony fleet pressed forward through the asteroid belt. Human mining ships scattered before them like frightened insects. The aliens destroyed a few of the slower vessels, but most escaped deeper into the system. Behind them, the massive network of positioned asteroids continued operating. Energy flowed between the rocks in patterns that would have amazed any physicist. But the hegemony commanders were focused on military targets, not scientific curiosities. As they approached Mars, more human ships appeared. This group was larger and better armed, including several vessels that looked like actual military ships instead of converted civilian craft. Finally, Kethvar said with satisfaction, a real fight. The battle near Mars lasted 3 hours. The human ships fought with surprising skill and determination, using the planet's moons for cover and coordinating their attacks with precision. But they were still outnumbered and outgunned. Eventually, the surviving human ships broke off and retreated toward Earth. As they fled, Admiral Chen's voice came over the communication channel. "Impressive fighting, Admiral Kethvar," she said calmly. "You have reduced our fleet by exactly the amount we expected. We hope you have enjoyed your tour of our solar system so far." Kethvar was puzzled by her tone. The human admiral sounded almost cheerful despite losing dozens of ships. "Your tour ends at Earth," he replied. "We will give you one final chance to surrender." "Thank you for the offer," Admiral Chen said, "but we are quite satisfied with our current plan. Please continue following the route we have provided. Earth will be waiting for you." The communication ended, leaving Kethvar staring at his tactical display. Something about the human admiral's confidence bothered him, but he could not identify what it was. General Vexthy approached his command station. "Admiral, the humans are not acting like a defeated enemy. They sound like they are winning." "Impossible," Kethvar said firmly. "We have destroyed hundreds of their ships. Their industrial operations cannot possibly threaten our fleet." But as the hegemony advanced toward Earth, none of them noticed that they were now completely surrounded by the network of asteroids, energy fields, and atmospheric modifications that the humans had been building. The trap was almost ready to spring. The hegemony fleet reached Mars orbit exactly as Admiral Kethvar had planned. 50,000 ships spread out in perfect battle formation, ready to deliver the final blow to human resistance. Ahead of them, Earth hung in space like a blue jewel, defended by fewer than 800 ships. "Pitiful," Kethvar said, looking at his tactical display. "They have almost no fleet left. This will be over in hours." The remaining human ships had formed a defensive line near Earth's moon. They looked tiny compared to the massive alien armada approaching them. Some were clearly damaged from previous battles, with hull breaches sealed by emergency patches. "General," Vexthy studied the enemy formation with her compound eyes. "They are not running this time," she observed. "They intend to make their final stand here." "Good," Commander Zolman chimed. "At least they will die with some honor." Kethvar was about to order the final attack when a communication request came from the human fleet. Admiral Chen appeared on his screen, looking calm and professional despite facing impossible odds. "Admiral Kethvar," she said politely. "Before we begin our final battle, I wanted to thank you." "Thank me?" Kethvar was confused. "For what?" "For following our roadmap so precisely," Admiral Chen smiled. "You have been excellent guests. We do hope you have enjoyed the tour of our solar system." Something cold crawled up Kethvar's spine. "What roadmap?" "The one we provided in our battle plan," Admiral Chen explained. "The routes through our system that we suggested you take. The schedule we recommended for your advance. You have followed it exactly down to the hour." General Vexthy clicked her mandibles together nervously. "Admiral, she is right. We have been following the paths their ships showed us during their retreats." Admiral Chen continued speaking. "Now, let us show you why humans became the dominant species on a world that tried to kill us every single day. Computer, activate Solar Protocol 7. Suddenly, alarms began screaming throughout the hegemony fleet. The tactical displays lit up with warnings as space itself seemed to go crazy around them. The asteroid network that the human mining ships had built suddenly activated. Massive gravity generators that had been hidden inside the rocks began working at full power. Within minutes, the space between Mars and Jupiter became a maze of gravitational distortions. "What is happening?" Kethvar demanded as his ship was pulled sideways by an invisible force. "Artificial gravity wells, Admiral," reported his science officer. "The humans have created a network of gravitational anchors throughout this region of space. They are trapping us here." Kethvar tried to order his fleet to retreat, but it was too late. The gravity wells were too strong and too numerous. Ships that tried to escape were pulled back into the maze. Others found themselves unable to maneuver, as competing gravitational forces held them in place. "Activate hyperspace drives," Kethvar ordered desperately. "All ships, jump to safety." But the hyperspace drives would not work. The gravitational distortions were interfering with the delicate calculations needed for faster-than-light travel. The fleet was trapped in normal space, unable to escape or maneuver effectively. Then the second phase of the human trap activated. Near Jupiter and Saturn, the materials that the agricultural ships had seeded into the gas giants' atmospheres began to react. The planet's massive magnetic fields interacted with the human-made compounds, creating electromagnetic storms that spread throughout the inner solar system. "Communications are down," reported the communications officer. "The electromagnetic interference is blocking all long-range transmissions." "We cannot contact the home worlds?" asked General Vexthi. "No, General. We cannot even communicate reliably between our own ships." Kethvar stared at his tactical display in growing horror. The hegemony fleet was trapped, blind, and helpless. The gravity wells prevented escape. The electromagnetic storms blocked communications. And somehow, the humans had planned all of this. "Impossible," he whispered. "No species is this clever. No one could coordinate something this complex." Admiral Chen's voice came over the communication system one more time, cutting through the static and interference with crystal clarity. "You see, Admiral," she explained calmly. "Humans learned long ago that the universe is actively trying to kill us. Our homeworld has ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, magnetic pole reversals, and solar flares. We survived by learning to work with dangerous forces instead of fighting them." On the tactical display, Kethvar could see human ships moving freely through the gravitational maze. Somehow, they were unaffected by the same forces that trapped his fleet. "In this case," Admiral Chen continued, "we decided to make friends with our star." The final phase of the trap began. Deep in the sun's core, nuclear reactions that had been carefully disturbed by human gravity wave generators began to cascade. The star's magnetic field, influenced by the network of devices the humans had hidden throughout the system, began to shift and focus. "Solar activity is increasing rapidly," reported the science officer. "Massive coronal mass ejection building on the star's surface." "How massive?" asked Kethvar. "Larger than anything in recorded history, Admiral. It appears to be artificially controlled and directed." Kethvar looked at Admiral Chen's image on his screen. The human woman was still smiling. "You are going to kill us with a solar flare?" he asked. "Oh no, Admiral," Admiral Chen said. "We are not going to kill you. That would be wasteful. We are going to do something much more interesting." The controlled solar flare erupted from the sun's surface, racing toward the trapped hegemony fleet at the speed of light. But this was not a normal solar storm. The humans had shaped it using magnetic field generators positioned throughout the system. The flare followed precise paths, guided by the same network that had trapped the alien ships. "Brace for impact," Kethvar ordered his fleet, but the impact never came. Instead, something far stranger happened. The solar storm hit the gravity wells, surrounding the hegemony fleet, and began to interact with them in ways that violated everything the aliens knew about physics. The combination of gravitational distortion, electromagnetic interference, and solar radiation created a phenomenon that had never been seen before. Space itself began to bend. "What is happening to us?" General Vexthi asked as reality twisted around her ship. "The humans have turned their solar system into a spatial displacement device," Admiral Chen explained helpfully. "You are not going to be destroyed, Admiral. You are going to be relocated." The stars outside the hegemony ships began to change. Some grew brighter, others dimmed. New constellations appeared while familiar ones vanished. The fabric of space-time itself was being manipulated by forces that the aliens could not understand. "Relocated where?" Kethvar demanded. "We are not entirely sure," Admiral Chen admitted. "Our calculations suggest several possibilities: parallel dimensions, alternate realities, the distant past or future, perhaps somewhere else entirely." One by one, the hegemony ships began to fade from normal space. They did not explode or burn. They simply became less real, as if they were images being erased from a photograph. "This is impossible," Cathvar said as his own ship began to feel insubstantial. "You cannot make 50,000 ships just disappear." "Actually," Admiral Chen said, "we can. We just did. Consider it our gift to your scientific advancement. You will get to explore regions of reality that no one has ever seen before." The last thing Admiral Cathvar saw was Admiral Chen waving goodbye from her command screen. Then his ship, along with the entire hegemony armada, simply ceased to exist in normal space-time. To any outside observer, 50,000 alien warships had vanished without a trace. In the empty space where 50,000 alien warships had been moments before, only distorted starlight remained. The hegemony's mighty armada had simply ceased to exist in normal reality, leaving no debris, no energy signatures, no trace that they had ever been there. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the tactical display confirm what her instruments were telling her. The gravitational anchors were powering down. The electromagnetic storms around Jupiter and Saturn were dissipating. The controlled solar flare was fading back to normal background radiation. "All stations report," she ordered calmly. "Solar Protocol 7 has completed successfully," reported her science officer. "All hegemony vessels have been displaced from normal spacetime. No human casualties. Minimal damage to system infrastructure." Chen nodded. The plan had worked exactly as calculated, but she knew that very few people truly understood what had just happened. Even her own crew looked confused and amazed. "Ma'am," asked her tactical officer, "where did they go?" Chen looked at the data streaming across her screens. The mathematics were incredibly complex, involving calculations that pushed human understanding of physics to its absolute limits. "Honestly, Lieutenant, we are not entirely sure. Our best estimates suggest they have been scattered across multiple dimensions of spacetime." She pulled up a holographic display showing the theoretical results of their spatial displacement weapon. Some ships may have been sent to parallel universes where the laws of physics work differently. Others might have been displaced in time, either far into the past or distant future. A few could have ended up in pocket dimensions that exist between normal reality. "Will they ever come back?" asked the communications officer. "Extremely unlikely," Chen replied. "The dimensional barriers they have crossed are not easily reversed. They would need technology far beyond what they possess to return to our reality." What Chen did not tell her crew was that the humans themselves did not fully understand the weapon they had just used. The spatial displacement device had been humanity's greatest scientific achievement, requiring the combined knowledge of thousands of physicists, engineers, and mathematicians working in secret for over a decade. The project had begun after humanity's first contact with hostile aliens. When it became clear that other species in the galaxy were technologically superior and militarily aggressive, human leaders realized that conventional warfare would not be enough to protect Earth. Instead of trying to build bigger guns or faster ships, human scientists had focused on something no other species had attempted: weaponizing the fundamental forces that held reality together. The solar system had been quietly transformed into the largest physics experiment in galactic history. Gravity wave generators hidden in asteroids, magnetic field manipulators disguised as mining equipment, atmospheric processors that could influence stellar activity. Every piece of technology working together to turn space itself into a weapon. "Admiral," called her science officer, "we are receiving communication requests from multiple sources. The hegemony scout ships that were outside the displacement zone are trying to contact their main fleet." Chen smiled grimly. A few dozen hegemony ships had been too far away when the trap was sprung. They had watched their entire armada disappear and were now trying to understand what had happened. "Put them through," Chen ordered. The main screen showed Captain Zixthai of the hegemony scouts. His reptilian features were twisted with confusion and terror. "Human Admiral," he said, his voice shaking, "what have you done with our fleet?" "Your fleet has been relocated," Chen replied pleasantly. "They are exploring new dimensions of reality. Consider it our contribution to hegemony scientific research. That is impossible, Captain Zixthai insisted. 50,000 ships cannot simply vanish. You must have destroyed them with some kind of superweapon. Chen shook her head. No destruction was involved, Captain. Your ships still exist, just not in our universe anymore. They have been mathematically translated into alternate configurations of space-time. The alien captain stared at her in disbelief. You expect me to believe that humans have technology that can manipulate reality itself? Believe what you want, Chen said calmly. The results speak for themselves. Your invasion fleet is gone. Your empire has lost 50,000 warships, without a single shot fired in the final battle. Behind Captain Zixthai, other alien officers were frantically working at their control stations, trying to detect any trace of their missing armada. Their instruments showed nothing but empty space where their fleet had been. This is some kind of trick, the captain said desperately. A holographic illusion. Advanced stealth technology. You are hiding our ships somehow. Chen opened a communication, channeled to all remaining hegemony vessels. Let me explain something to all of you, she said. Humanity developed this technology because we had to. Our planet tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, magnetic pole reversals, solar flares that could destroy all life on Earth. She gestured toward the tactical display showing the now quiet solar system. We survived by learning to work with forces that wanted to destroy us. We learned to predict earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. We learned to track asteroids and deflect them. We learned to shield ourselves from solar radiation. Eventually, Chen continued, we learned to control these forces instead of just protecting ourselves from them. We learned to make earthquakes happen where we wanted them. We learned to trigger volcanic eruptions on schedule. We learned to redirect asteroids and focus solar energy. The alien officers listened in growing horror as Admiral Chen described humanity's relationship with their homeworld. This solar system is not just our home, Chen explained. It is our laboratory. Every planet, every asteroid, every solar flare is a tool that we have learned to use. When you invaded our space, you were not fighting our ships. You were fighting our entire star system. Captain Zixthai's voice was barely a whisper. How long have you been able to do this? We have been working on spatial displacement theory for 15 years, Chen answered. Building the infrastructure took another 10 years. Testing and calibration required 5 more years. You arrived just as we finished the final preparations. So this was planned, the captain said. You knew we were coming. We knew someone like you would eventually come, Chen confirmed. Aggressive species always find peaceful ones eventually. We decided to be ready. The communication channel fell silent as the surviving hegemony officers tried to process what they had learned. Their mighty empire had just lost its largest fleet to a species they had considered primitive. What happens now? Asked Captain Zixthai finally. Admiral Chen leaned back in her command chair. Now you go home and tell your leaders what happened here. You explain that the human solar system is under our protection. You recommend that the hegemony find other targets for expansion. And if they do not listen? Chen smiled coldly. Captain, we just made 50,000 ships disappear without firing a shot. Do you really want to find out what else we can do? The alien captain's scales shifted color as fear took hold. No, Admiral, I do not. Good choice, Chen said. Oh, and Captain, if any other species ask what happened to your invasion fleet, feel free to tell them the truth. 50,000 ships simply vanished near the human homeworld. Let them draw their own conclusions. The communication ended, leaving the human crew alone on their bridge. Around them, the Sol system slowly returned to normal operations. The gravitational anchors were being retrieved. The electromagnetic generators were powering down. The solar focusing arrays were returning to standby mode. Ma'am, asked the tactical officer, do you think they will try again? Admiral Chen looked at the retreating hegemony scout ships, already accelerating toward hyperspace. No, Lieutenant. Word of this will spread throughout their empire within days. No military commander will want to attack a species that can make entire fleets vanish. She was right. Within hours of the scout ship's return, News of the hegemony's disappeared armada was spreading across their territory. Within days, it would reach other aggressive species throughout the galaxy. Humanity had just sent a message to the entire universe. Earth was protected by forces that could not be understood or defeated through conventional means. The age of humanity hiding in the shadows was over. 3 months after the vanishing of the hegemony armada, the story had spread to every corner of the galaxy. In the bars and trading posts of 1,000 different worlds, beings gathered to whisper about the impossible thing that had happened in the Sol system. On Kepler Station, a massive space habitat at the crossroads of several major trade routes, representatives from dozens of species met in what was supposed to be a secret military conference. The topic was always the same: what to do about the humans. General Mortak of the Corvan Empire stood before a holographic display showing the last known position of the hegemony fleet. His 4 arms gestured at the empty space where 50,000 ships should have been. They simply vanished, he said for the 100th time. No explosion, no debris, no energy signature. One moment they were there, the next moment they were not. Fleet Commander Ysera of the Serpentine Collective coiled, her long body around her chair. My intelligence sources have confirmed the story. The surviving hegemony scouts all tell the same tale. Their entire invasion force disappeared during what should have been the final battle. What kind of weapon could do this? Asked War Leader Thok of the Ursine clans. Antimatter bombs leave debris, plasma cannons leave energy traces, even quantum disruptors leave some evidence of what they destroyed. Admiral Zanol of the Crystalline Federates chimed softly. According to our analysis of the hegemony reports, this was not a conventional weapon. The humans appear to have used some kind of spatial displacement technology. Impossible, growled General Mortak. No species has that kind of advanced physics knowledge. The hegemony scouts are lying to cover up their defeat. Then explain where 50,000 ships went, challenged Fleet Commander Ysera. The hegemony has recalled all their remaining fleets to defend their core worlds. They are acting like a species that has just been terrified into submission. The debate continued for hours, but no one could provide a satisfactory explanation for what had happened. The human solar system had somehow erased an entire invasion fleet from existence. The method was unknown. The technology was incomprehensible. The implications were terrifying. Meanwhile, on Earth, life continued as if nothing unusual had happened. Admiral Chen had returned to her duties at the Defense Force headquarters, where she was already planning the next phase of humanity's defense strategy. Admiral, said Dr. Martinez, the lead physicist on the Solar Protocol project, we are receiving analysis requests from universities across human space. Everyone wants to understand how the displacement weapon works. Chen shook her head. The technology stays classified at the highest levels. Only the core research team and the Defense Council know the full details. What do we tell the scientific community? Tell them it is based on advanced applications of general relativity and quantum field theory, Chen replied. Let them think we have discovered new physics instead of just learning to use old physics in creative ways. The truth was that humanity's spatial displacement weapon was not based on any revolutionary scientific breakthrough. Instead, it relied on the careful application of known principles in ways that no other species had thought to attempt. Humans had always been good at finding unexpected uses for ordinary tools. They had turned rocks into hammers, sticks into spears, and fire into the foundation of civilization. Now they had turned their entire solar system into a weapon by treating planets and stars as components in a massive physics experiment. The key insight had come from humanity's unique relationship with their homeworld. Earth was a dangerous planet that had tried to kill its inhabitants countless times throughout history. Humans had survived by learning to predict and eventually control the forces that threatened them. Other species had evolved on more stable worlds. They had never needed to develop the same level of understanding about planetary physics, stellar mechanics, and gravitational interactions. When they built their civilizations, they focused on conquering other species instead of mastering their environment. Humans had taken the opposite approach. They had spent centuries studying every aspect of their solar system, from the magnetic field interactions between planets to the nuclear processes inside their star. When they finally developed space travel, they used this knowledge to turn the entire system into their fortress, but the galaxy did not know these details. All they knew was that humanity had made 50,000 ships disappear, and no one could explain how they had done it. The mystery grew larger with each retelling of the story. Some species believed that humans had discovered ancient alien technology. Others thought they had made contact with beings from another dimension. A few suggested that Earth itself was alive and had defended its children. The most popular theory was that humans possessed secret superweapons that could destroy entire fleets instantly. This version of the story spread fastest because it was the easiest for military commanders to understand, even if they could not replicate the technology. Within 6 months, the effect on galactic politics was dramatic. Species that had been planning attacks on human colonies quietly canceled their operations. Trade agreements that had been stalled for years were suddenly approved. Diplomatic missions that had been ignored began receiving responses. The Zaxorian Republic, which controlled several systems near human space, sent an ambassador to Earth with a formal non-aggression pact. The Aquatic Federation offered to share their advanced medical technology in exchange for a mutual defense agreement. Even the mysterious Voidwalkers, who rarely communicated with anyone, sent a message acknowledging human sovereignty over the Sol system. But the most significant change occurred within the hegemony itself. The loss of their primary invasion fleet had shattered their military confidence. Without their overwhelming numerical advantage, they could no longer intimidate other species into submission. Several worlds that had been conquered by the hegemony declared independence, betting that the alien alliance was too weakened to respond effectively. They were right. The hegemony's remaining fleets were needed to defend their core territories from potential attacks by other empires. Within a year, the hegemony had fragmented into 7 separate nations, as each member species focused on protecting their own interests instead of maintaining their alliance. Admiral Chen watched these developments from her office on Earth, satisfied that humanity's strategy was working exactly as planned. The goal had never been to destroy the hegemony's ships. The goal had been to destroy their reputation for invincibility. "Admiral," asked her aide, "are you concerned about other species trying to develop similar weapons?" Chen smiled. "Let them try. It took us 30 years to build the infrastructure for one spatial displacement event. Any species that wants to replicate our achievement will need to completely redesign their solar system and learn to control their star. And if they succeed, then they will have learned the same lesson we did," Chen replied. "The universe is not conquered through military force alone. It is conquered through understanding." She looked out her window at the blue sky of Earth, knowing that far above them the gravitational anchors and solar focusing arrays were still in place, ready to defend humanity if needed. The Sol system remained the galaxy's most sophisticated physics laboratory, disguised as a peaceful star system. But Chen hoped they would never need to use their weapon again. The legend of the vanishing hegemony fleet was already powerful enough to protect humanity for generations to come. Across the galaxy, 3 words had become synonymous with inexplicable terror. They simply vanished. And whenever aggressive species considered attacking human space, they remembered that 50,000 ships had once approached the Sol system with confidence and certainty. None of them had ever been seen again. The legend of humanity's impossible victory would outlive empires and span centuries, growing larger with each telling. Future generations would debate whether the story was true or just a myth created to frighten potential invaders. But in the depths of space, reality continued to function according to the laws of physics that humanity had learned to weaponize, and, somewhere, in dimensions that existed parallel to normal space-time, 50,000 alien ships continued their eternal journey through realities they could never understand or escape. The humans had kept their promise. The hegemony fleet was, indeed, exploring new frontiers of scientific knowledge. They just had no choice in the matter.